Throughout history, military campaigns have often been defined by brilliant strategies and decisive victories. However, equally significant are the monumental blunders that have altered the course of wars, reshaped empires, and left lasting legacies. These mistakes, arising from miscalculations, hubris, or sheer bad luck, provide valuable lessons on the complexities and unpredictability of warfare. This video delves into some of the most notable military blunders in history, highlighting the errors and their far-reaching consequences. The Charge of the Light Brigade, 1854. One of the most infamous military blunders in history occurred during the Crimean War at the Battle of Balaclava. The Charge of the Light Brigade was a disastrous cavalry charge led by British forces against Russian artillery positions. Due to miscommunication and unclear orders, the Light Brigade charged directly into a well-prepared and heavily fortified artillery battery. Despite their bravery, the Light Brigade suffered devastating casualties, with nearly half of the 600 men killed or wounded. The blunder was immortalized in Alfred Lord Tennyson's poem, The Charge of the Light Brigade, capturing the tragedy and heroism of the event. This incident highlighted the critical importance of clear communication and accurate intelligence in military operations. Napoleon's invasion of Russia, 1812. Napoleon Bonaparte's invasion of Russia in 1812 stands as one of the most catastrophic military decisions in history. Confident in his grand army's strength, Napoleon embarked on a campaign to force Tsar Alexander I to submit to French dominance. However, the vast distances, harsh climate, and scorched earth tactics employed by the retreating Russians took a devastating toll on the French forces. As winter set in, the lack of supplies, shelter, and adequate clothing led to severe attrition. Of the approximately 600,000 soldiers who began the campaign, fewer than 100,000 returned. The failure of the Russian campaign severely weakened Napoleon's military power, leading to his eventual defeat and exile. This blunder underscored the peril of underestimating logistical challenges and the resilience of the enemy. The Battle of Little Bighorn, 1876. The Battle of Little Bighorn, also known as Custer's Last Stand, is a notable example of miscalculation and overconfidence. Lieutenant Colonel George Custer, leading the 7th Cavalry, underestimated the strength and resolve of the combined forces of the Lakota Sioux, Northern Cheyenne, and Arapaho tribes. Believing he could easily defeat the Native American coalition, Custer divided his forces and launched an attack. The Native American forces, numbering over 2,000 warriors, overwhelmed Custer and his men. The entire detachment of over 200 soldiers was killed. The battle was a significant victory for the Native Americans, but it also provoked a massive military response from the U.S. government, ultimately leading to their defeat. Custer's hubris and failure to properly assess the situation resulted in a devastating loss and remains a stark lesson in the dangers of underestimating one's opponent. Hitler's decision to invade the Soviet Union, 1941. Adolf Hitler's decision to invade the Soviet Union during World War II, known as Operation Barbarossa, ranks among the greatest military blunders of all time. Initially, the German forces achieved rapid success, capturing vast territories and inflicting heavy casualties on the Soviet Red Army. However, the campaign's sheer scale, logistical difficulties, and the onset of the brutal Russian winter turned the tide. German troops were ill-prepared for the harsh conditions, and the extended supply lines became vulnerable. The Soviets, exhibiting remarkable resilience and mobilizing vast resources, launched effective counterattacks. The failure of Operation Barbarossa marked a turning point in World War II as the Soviet Union regained strength and began pushing the Germans back. This blunder demonstrated the peril of overreaching military ambitions and the critical importance of logistics and preparation for extreme conditions. The Gallipoli Campaign, 1915 to 1916. The Gallipoli Campaign during World War I was a disastrous Allied operation aimed at securing a sea route to Russia and knocking the Ottoman Empire out of the war. The plan, championed by Winston Churchill, involved a naval attack followed by amphibious landings on the Gallipoli Peninsula. However, the operation was marred by poor planning, inadequate intelligence, and underestimation of the Ottoman defenses. The Allied forces encountered fierce resistance and became bogged down in trench warfare similar to the Western Front. Harsh terrain, disease, and logistical failures compounded the difficulties. After months of stalemate and heavy casualties, the Allies were forced to evacuate. The Gallipoli campaign resulted in over 250,000 Allied casualties and is remembered as a significant failure, highlighting the need for thorough planning and understanding of the operational environment. The Bay of Pigs invasion, 1961. The Bay of Pigs invasion was an ill-fated attempt by the United States to overthrow Cuban leader Fidel Castro. Planned and executed by the CIA, the operation involved landing a force of Cuban exiles at the Bay of Pigs in Cuba. The invasion was based on the assumption that it would spark an uprising against Castro, but it was poorly conceived and executed. The invading force encountered stronger than expected resistance from Cuban forces, and the anticipated popular uprising did not materialize. Additionally, the U.S. government's reluctance to provide overt military support left the invaders isolated and vulnerable. The operation was a complete failure, resulting in the capture or death of most of the invaders. The Bay of Pigs invasion damaged U.S. credibility and strengthened Castro's position, demonstrating the dangers of poorly planned covert operations. The Battle of the Somme, 1916. The Battle of the Somme, one of the largest battles of World War I, exemplifies the costly blunders of trench warfare. The British and French forces launched a massive offensive against German positions along the River Somme, aiming to break the stalemate on the Western Front. The battle began with a week-long artillery bombardment intended to destroy German defenses. However, the bombardment failed to achieve its objectives, and when the infantry advanced, they were met with devastating machine gun fire. The first day of the battle saw the British suffer over 57,000 casualties, the worst single-day loss in their military history. The battle dragged on for months, resulting in over 1 million casualties with minimal territorial gains. The Battle of the Somme highlighted the brutal futility of frontal assaults against fortified positions and the horrific human cost of attritional warfare. The Fall of Singapore, 1942. The fall of Singapore during World War II was a significant military blunder by the British forces in Southeast Asia. Believing that Singapore was impregnable, the British fortified the island's southern coast, but neglected the northern landward side, assuming that the dense jungle would be an effective natural barrier. The Japanese, however, launched a swift and audacious campaign through the Malay Peninsula, bypassing the British defenses. The British command failed to adequately respond to the Japanese advance, and their troops were poorly prepared for jungle warfare. The rapid and coordinated Japanese assault overwhelmed the British defenders, leading to the surrender of Singapore in February 1942. The fall of Singapore was a major blow to British prestige and marked a turning point in the Pacific War, demonstrating the perils of complacency and underestimating the enemy. Military blunders have had profound impacts on the outcomes of wars and the course of history. These mistakes, often driven by overconfidence, poor planning, or failure to adapt to changing circumstances, serve as sobering reminders of the complexities and uncertainties inherent in warfare. By studying these blunders, military strategists and historians can glean valuable lessons to avoid repeating the same errors and to better understand the intricacies of military operations. What do you think of our video? Please let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.